This is another conversation. You know what really bothers me is George Miller actually did a really good job at copying my mannerisms. Uh, with Dementis, a lot of the things he does is kind of jerky emotions and shit. I didn't realize I did that. It's actually really impressive. Also, I didn't realize how bad my teeth were until I saw Dementis. So, um, Anal Eating Mummy God. This was a conversation I just, for no fucking reason at all, remembered. I think they did that stupid hypnosis shit after I talked to Anal Eating Mummy God each time and erased it. And my theory is I think they programmed that shit into the subconscious mind. Your conversations with Anal Eating Mummy God. So whether you know you talked to him or not, the only thing you remember is subconscious. So they don't speak to you; they speak to the guy in control, your subconscious mind. In theory. And this was going to be an angry, ranting video about how these people are baboons, but I look, they literally have sex harems, and they kill anybody that tries to engage in their sex harems. That's how gorillas work. That's a baboon. But we already know they destroy the halo brain so they can have the primal brain, and then they go, I'm in control because I'm using the subconscious brain, but also the subconscious brain just does whatever it wants to because it doesn't have any agency in anything. So actually, they're the furthest things from control you can be. But Anal Eating Mummy God. When I hired Luigi to shoot the CEO, spoilers, I did that when I was president. He was like, basically, there's this guy who's me, and he's incredible. He's one of the smartest people on the planet, and he understands things. His problem is he has a lot of self-doubt, and he has a couple of issues, but he wants to do the right thing desperately, and he wants others to do the right thing. But, and he was like, and well, the issue is the resources to help him, court, he was talking about court, he doesn't trust them because he's had bad experiences with them. They did a lot of bad things with him. Once again, this guy who's me. And this was very vague. Once again, what they say is very vague. I guess it has to be because they're speaking to the subconscious mind. And he was like this guy who has to go to court. Like, and I told him I'm never going to court ever again. And he was like, what does that leave? I was like, it leaves murder. I was like, the only way to solve the problem. If you're dealing with bastards who kill to win, you have to kill them. That is how that works. Okay. In this world, Blondie said it. It's a dog-eat-dog world, man. Either you're killing or you're not, or you're getting killed. That's how that works, and that's not how society works. That's how the primal brain works. Though. The survival brain is either you die or I die. That's how that works. I don't care. But we got into this conversation, and he was like, well, this dude could go down two paths. He's a super powerful person, and he's highly skilled, and he has two paths in his life. And he can go through the path of basically the martyr, where he does the right thing and a lot of really good things happen, or he can go down a really dark path of hatred, violence, killing, possibly living a horrible life before he's ultimately killed. And I was like, did this guy plan something? Like, did he plan to assassinate somebody and change the world the way your church killed Kennedy and stopped the U.S. government from passing a single-payer healthcare? And I got this feeling, like chills going down my spine when I said that. And Anal Eating Mummy God was like, murder is not the solution to everything. Okay? You said that, Bobby. You said murder When murder is your tool, it becomes the answer to everything. It doesn't have to be the answer to everything. And I was just like, oh yeah, tell that to this church. They just kill everybody. You know what I want, or I kill you. I think like a 2-year-old. I'm the victim. I'm a man victim. A man victim. And just, yeah. And he was like, I want this guy to do the right thing so badly, but I know he's not gonna because of his experiences. He's a guy that talks about you learn from your experiences, and what he has learned from his experiences is he doesn't trust the system. He doesn't trust any of the people at power. Everybody around him dicked him over. And I think about even now, my brother and my sister both openly defend these people. They fucking will do anything for these people because my family's not my family. Your family's supposed to love and support you. If I'm like, I need to take down this church, my brother and sister should be trying to help me get a lawyer to take these people down. They're not gonna because they don't care. And also, my sister's gonna get money because that's where her values are at. But I don't understand that either because Anal Eating Mummy God was like, there's more to life than just money. But then you're just gonna dump a bunch of money into my sister's hands? Come on. I really hope that shit comes with their token thing. If we give you money, we murder you. So when she wins the lottery, they just send somebody out to brain her. Like, you gotta do it to me, the guy that actually helped people. My sister hasn't done anything to help anyone. But whatever. Trust me, they'll love. They're not gonna kill her because she's an awful person. That's just how that is. But we get into this conversation. And he was like, if he could just get back to doing the right thing. Because and we got into it, and basically we were talking about Luigi Mangione and me hiring him to shoot that CEO. I didn't know that at the time, because it was very vague, the conversation. And then I was like, can I just, 1 second? And he was like, what? When I was in elementary school, I was on the student council. And I actually rigged an entire thing. I knew the student council wouldn't give me what I wanted. It was something we were doing for field day. I knew they weren't going to give it to me. And I did the right thing first. And I presented the idea, and it was immediately shot down. The way I knew it was going to get shot down. So I created an entire super complex plan, but the problem is I involved too many people. Now, I believe Anal Eating Mummy God would say the problem is I didn't rape the other kids that were involved in this in 5th grade. I didn't rape them, and that's why they betrayed me, because part of this church is you anally rape somebody, you have control over them. That's how that works. And I would probably argue that's what this church would say. Is the issue is I have morals and values and didn't think I had to rape one of the kids. Anyways, basically one of the kids figured out my plan and then planned around my plan and ended up canceling what I wanted. It was something to do with a tug of war. It wasn't anything complicated. But basically, I had rigged up a bunch of scenarios that would destroy a couple of the events that we had at field day so that we could have a tug of war, because I wanted to do a tug of war. And it would have worked. I know it would have worked. But this dickhead in my group took a hammer to it. And then when we had field day, that kid came to me and was like, gee, I really wish we had tug of war here. And I was like, yeah, me too. It's too bad you fucking betrayed me. And I remember this stare from the kid because he didn't realize I had caught him. He didn't realize that. And then he was like, yeah. And then we looked at the other games. They sucked. And even that kid, the kid that betrayed me, was like, this is fucking horrible. This is the worst field day ever. Yeah, that happened. And he later went on to tell me he regretted betraying me, but I had to be stopped because I did all these things, and I was, but it would have ended with us getting a tug of war. It would have ended with us getting a tug of war. And this same dynamic came up with George Miller, who was like, you're the fucking devil, because they were like, it's how you're going about getting these things done isn't right. These are your only options. Okay? And yeah, my failing as a person is I don't kill. I remember one of the bitches I work with explaining to me, because murder to these people is like drinking water. Killing is just normal, okay? That is how okay every member of this church is with murder. They love it, okay? Killing people gives them elation. They love the feeling. They jack off to it. And she was explaining to me I needed to get past that I don't want to murder people thing. And I think about it, and to some extent she's right, but we're not going to talk about that, because that is another thing in my brain I do need to override if I'm going to take control of my life and change things. But Anal Eating Mummy God was like, he can go through the path of a hero, or he can go down a dark path. And I told him about the field day, and I told him about that kid sabotaging my plan. And then I was like, can I ask you something? This guy's plan, if you weren't sabotaging it, would it work? And then he was like, if this guy's plan works, the only thing he's going to learn is that you can just kill people and get what you want. But you people just kill people and get what you want. But it's not okay for other people to do that. I would argue this is the master and slave race argument with them. Hands down. They're like, we're the masters so we can kill people to stop socialism. But if you murder people to get socialism passed, there's a problem. You run into this with Republicans where they low road and then they go, you have to take the high road because you're moral. I don't have morals. I hate those. Ah! A bullet. A bullet is the only response to such a person. Even Jesus himself would shoot that fucker. Okay. And I'm just going to talk about this. I'm pretty sure God himself was like, oh, Bobby, you wanted to help millions of people by giving them healthcare, so you just murdered CEO Brian. You hired Luigi to kill the CEO Brian to save hundreds of thousands of lives. Hey, my son, I sacrificed my son to save hundreds of thousands of lives. You're basically Jesus. Yeah, I agree with you. But it wasn't me, my ass on the line, that was changing things. It was some loser who's entitled to everything. And I was like, Anal Eating Mummy God, are you just going to plan around this guy's plans and dismantle them on every level when you know they would work? And that the plans wouldn't work. Are you planning around this guy's plan and hijacking them to make sure they don't work? And it's not about them working. It's about how you go. My brother's done this too, where he's like, you can't just kill people and then expect doesn't work. The system doesn't work. I went to court. I reported a massive human trafficking ring, and the U.S. government told me to kill myself. The U.S. government told me to kill myself because they have no power over any church. And these guys don't follow the law because they're above the law. Dude, but before I was even president, they were already putting back together the human sacrifices and human trafficking in this church. As soon as the church was busted, they immediately got back to doing the exact thing they got busted for. They do not care about the law. They do not care about the law. They do not care about values. They do not care about morals. And I'm going to talk about this. The Epstein files, you're reading those? Those people aren't going to be held to account unless somebody else goes out there with a gun and puts a bullet in their head, okay? That is the only way those people are going to be held to account, because we don't live in a just society. We do not have a justice system, okay? And I told Anal Eating Mummy God, if you don't want this guy to go down the path of the murderer, and he was like, well, we're going to put him in prison because basically it's the Friedrich Nietzsche and Carl Jung shit. Individualization goes two ways. You can become an extremely good person, that's the Carl Jung thing, or you can become a Friedrich Nietzsche, a bastard. With no values and no morals, with a really massive, overinflated ego. That is what Carl Jung accused Friedrich Nietzsche of having, and that is what he had. Even the church leaders in this church, just like Friedrich Nietzsche, go crazy. And it's a real thing that when I was president, the wives told me about. The other church leaders go crazy because of how toxic Friedrich Nietzsche's teaching is. The original guy that started this church, for that matter, went crazy. Okay, it's just normal for that to happen because of the way Friedrich Nietzsche thinks. But Anal Eating Mummy God was like, yeah, you put the guy in isolation and they're either going to turn into a really good person and help people, or they're going to turn into a monster. And this guy has so much capabilities because he sees the strings that controls the system. He sees how everything works. And if he just got involved in the system, and if I was doesn't work. It's rigged. You rigged it. You people. Yeah. I know I seem crazy right now, but I'm really not. And it disturbs me because I didn't understand what Anal Eating Mummy God was talking about. In fact, this entire conversation, the way we were having it was, I was that kid in elementary school, and Anal Eating Mummy God was basically playing the role of the betrayer, the kid that stopped me from getting tug of war at field day. And he was explaining to me that that kid saw what you were doing and wanted tug of war. He didn't agree with what you were doing, and that's why he knifed you in the back. Which, this church solved that problem. You just rape them. And this is the problem when the other guys are completely amoral. Everybody has to be amoral because you're not going to win through justice. I actually successfully beat these people through doing the right thing. I successfully beat these people by being a good person. And I can go over all of it. I really can. But then I was poisoned with heavy metals till I was retarded and lost. Because that is how far these people are willing to go. They do not care about integrity, dignity, or any of these other things. They only care about getting what they want. Because they have no morals and they have no values. Okay. And then Anal Eating Mummy God, you got to think about how self-righteous this conversation is. He's going to tell me, you have to be a good person. That Luigi Mangione murdering that guy isn't going to work. The wealthy are just going to double down with security, and they're not going to give you what you want because he helped them. Because he helped them, and that is because these people hate socialism. And socialism is, once again, you giving up a little bit of your money so that other people don't have to suffer. But these people in this church go, suffering's good for you, so it's good for them to suffer, so I shouldn't have to pay taxes. I want to cause them as much suffering as possible. And once again, if somebody on the outside was like, I gotta cause that guy more suffering, I'm gonna go poison his wife with radiation, and her hair's gonna fall out, her teeth are gonna fall out, and she's gonna die horribly. And if you walked over to him and was like, oh, your wife died of radiation, you're welcome. I did that. They're going to go, Aah! Because they don't believe their own philosophy. This is more of a thought processing video for myself. Because there's something in my head right now that I can't explain about this conversation that I've struggled to process. Because what the fuck is Anal Eating Mummy God trying to say? So what I told him at the end of that conversation is, you need to make sure that this guy knows the system can work for him and not against him. Not used to oppress him, which this entire time I've been under contract, and that's a form of oppression, by the way. So letting me out of the contract probably would have been a great start to showing the system can work. Thank you.